quilty friends. I'm Kippy, the academic stitcher, and this is my very first Quiltytube video. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you see something that maybe inspires you to start a new project, or if you're not a quilter, maybe you see something that shows you that you can do it too. This is one of my favorite hobbies, this along with cross stitch. I've been doing them both for a very long time. I'm sorry, you can see my dog right there in the background. She'll probably be going in and out the whole time. So let's just go with it. But I am not an artistic person when it comes to drawing or painting. I have two daughters who do that, and I'm always amazed at their artistic ability, but that's just not something I can do, but I can sew. And I enjoy using sewing as a creative outlet. I started quilting, my oldest daughter was a baby, so more than 30 years ago. And I actually took a sewing class, a quilting class at, I can't remember if it seems like it was a cross stitch store, but they also had this quilting class. It was in a neighboring town. We lived in a little bitty town in Oklahoma. And I will insert a picture of that project that I made in that class, which was my very first quilting experience, here. As you can see, it was a wall hanging. Blue is my favorite color, so that's the color that I chose to use in that little wall hanging. The lady who taught the class had us sew and quilt the entire thing by hand. She said if you can sew it by hand, if you can quilt it by hand, you can do it by machine. So she had us do everything by hand. It was something that I just found that I really love doing. Not necessarily the hand part of it, although for a long time I did hand quilt, but I now machine piece everything and pretty much either machine quilt myself occasionally or have a quilter do it for me, which is much more the norm. But back to my wall hanging, it's a piece that I didn't take it off the wall. The fabrics that I used for that project were probably not the best quality fabrics in the world. It's still in pretty good shape, but I don't like to take it down and put it back up a lot, so I put those pictures in for you. But it is a piece that I'm really very happy to put on my wall because it reminds me of how far I've come when it comes to you know, stretching myself as a quilter, doing things that are more challenging, and just the size and the complexity of the projects that I tend to do now. I thought I would start with the actual showing you things I have right here, with a couple of projects that I've made recently, much more recently than the other one, the wall hanging. The first one is a quilt that I made for my grandsons. And I will get up and show this to you. This is an economy block quilt. And make sure I get it right side up. I guess we can do it like this. Oh. hope you can see it. I'll bring it up so you can see some of the blocks a little closer. You'll probably see a lot of Snoopy and Charlie Brown because Peanuts is my favorite. But I made these economy blocks using all these fun fabrics and Fussy Cut, all those centers. And the boys and I play I Spy with all the different things that are in this quilt. They love to play with this quilt. Some of them, the oldest one is now 7, but he still likes to get this quilt out and play I Spy. So, and when they spend the night with me, they usually get this quilt out and use it on their bed. So this one I made several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when the boys were old enough to enjoy it. But that's one that's well loved, and hopefully even as the littlest one gets to be a little bit bigger, he will enjoy that one as well. I did not use paper piecing on that. I just found some instructions online and on how to make an economy block. I think the blocks finish at either 5 or 6 inches. I can't remember, but very easy to do. Just cut the center block, and then the next block out, I cut 2 squares, cut those in half, and then the outside 2 squares and cut those in half and added them. So very, very simple, very basic, easy enough to find the instructions online. The other older finish that I wanted to show you is it's one of my favorite fall quilts. It was a pattern by Wendy Shepherd, and it was in the, I think it was an American Patchwork and Quilting, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Make sure I get this right side up. And I loved this quilt at the time and made it as quickly as I could because I love fall, and I love leaves, love leaf blocks, and I thought this block was, it was a little different than some that I had seen. So the leaves are, I believe there are 3 different sizes. There may be 4 actually. Yeah, I think there are 4 different sizes. You can see the 4 sizes right there. Got the biggest one here, the medium here, and then the third, and then this one's the smallest one. I think I got most of the points. I think there are a few, if you look really closely, I lost some points on, but for the most part, I think I did a fairly decent job getting all the points. This was made from batiks, which I don't normally sew with, but I don't know. I found these. I don't remember where I got them or anything. It's been so long ago. But I was really happy with the way it turned out. I quilted this one when I lived in the Fort Worth area. You can tell I just used straight lines. When I lived in the Fort Worth area, the North Richland Hills Library had a place called the Maker Spot. And I do miss, there's not a lot I miss about living in that area because the traffic and the weather was really hot. But I miss my friends, and I miss getting to use the Maker Spot because they had a long arm machine at the Maker Spot. And so you could make a reservation and you could use their long arm after you took the class and all that kind of stuff. And it was so wonderful to have access to that long arm. I don't have that anymore, so I either quilt on my machine or I hire someone to do it for me. But I really enjoyed using that. I would love to have one myself, but honestly, I don't have the space for it. I don't have a room that is big enough and empty enough to set up a long arm. So I guess that's probably not going to happen. So those are some older finishes that I wanted to share with you. I want to change my setup just a little bit and show you some things that I have finished or almost finished just recently. First thing that I have that I just finished that I want to show you is one that I am so excited about. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have been working on Lori Holt's red sampler quilt, and I finished putting the top together on Saturday, and I absolutely love this quilt. I cannot wait to get it quilted. I don't know what pantograph I'm going to use right now. It's going to be simple because I don't want the quilt itself is very, very busy, and I don't want to take away from that, and I don't want to add to the busyness. So I want it to be pretty simple, but it's got to be the right thing. So if you maybe have some suggestions on what you think I should, what pantograph you think I should have my quilter use, let me know. But I want to show you my red sampler quilt. Oh my word, I'm so happy with how this turned out. I used the setting that Joanna Figueroa used in her Moda Blockheads 3 sampler. She made her Moda Blockheads 3 all in red and white. When Lori said that she was going to do this, that was the first thing I went to. It was the first thing I thought of, was how I remembered how much I loved the way that Joanna's finished quilt looked. And so I knew that that's the setting I wanted to use. Because Lori's blocks were 12-inch and 6-inch, and this setting also used some 8-inch blocks, I had to adjust some of the sizing on some of the blocks. I also used some other ideas that were simple that I thought blended really well with Lori's blocks. But here is my red sampler quilt, and I'm going to move my chair. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud. But here it is. Oh, I hope you can see it. There we go, there's the top. And I notice some things that I added were this row of heart blocks, and that's Joanna put those in her setting, so you can see those there. And then she also added another row, and in her setting it was little houses. But honestly, I was ready to get this one finished, and I didn't want to take the time to make all of those little houses, so I added a row of hourglass blocks, which you can see right here at the top. And it actually worked out really well, because there, you can see the rest of it now. Because when we made this hourglass block right here, which used 9, the way that Lori and her instructions in her book, and the way that I make quarter square triangles like this, you end up with 2 of each one. And I wanted each hourglass to be different. I didn't want any that were the same. So I ended up with the 9 for this block plus 9 extra. And so since I needed 10 for this row, I just made one more, and so I had it already done. So that made the process of getting this top finished a little faster. There were some other additions, like you can see, Joanna added some sections that were just low volume patchwork, and there were some strips between some of the blocks that were low volume patchwork. So I added all those in as well. And one of the blocks that I was most happy with, and look at there, I had a little decoration. This block is Lori's kaleidoscope block from her new book. And one of the sizes, the smallest size, just happens to be 8-inch. So that was perfect. I added that one in as well. But most of these blocks, 95% of the blocks, are from one of Lori Holt's books. And I just cannot tell you how much I love this quilt. Red and white. Blue is my favorite color, but I'm pretty sure that red and white quilts are my favorite. And I've got some smaller quilts that are red and white, but this is actually my very first full-size one. And I think this came out, I'd have to go back and look at Joanna's instructions, but it's 72 inches square, something like that. So the other thing I wanted to show you is one that I just finished yesterday. The only thing I don't have on this one is the binding. This one I quilted on my machine. And this is my sunflower fields wall hanging. Got some stray threads right there. I still need to put the binding on. I'm not sure what color binding I'm going to use. I'm thinking about it. But I just quilted rays out from the sunflowers. I quilted just a square pattern for the center of the sunflower, and then for the grass I just use a wavy pattern, a wavy stitch. Can you see? Oh, you may not can see it on there. Sorry, I've still got lots of strings on this one. There you can see how there we go. What I did on the grass. And I just quilted a leaf, so the veins into the leaves. I marked those with a friction pin, and those still need to be taken off. But I'm very, very happy with it. Like I said, I made the pattern up. I used can't think of the word right now. The Creative Grids ruler to make the petals, and I used a light and a dark for each one of the petals. I'm very happy with that one. I spent all afternoon quilting that one yesterday, and I just need the binding, and it will go above my front door. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I thought I had quit recording. But if you see the flag right, oh, it's hard to get. There we go. The flag right there that hangs above my front door. All the rest of my 4th of July patriotic things have come down, and I have all my sunflowers and things up. So this is going to be finished and go up there. But very happy with how that one turned out. So switch gears again, and I'd like to show you the things that I am currently working on, a few of the things that I'm currently working on. but they're the ones that I've worked on the most recently and the ones that I'm most interested in getting finished up as quickly as possible. The first one is my version of the Sampler Spree quilt, hosted by Susan Aki from her book Sampler Spree. I have just enjoyed this so very much. I'm several weeks behind, but I'm going to get caught up. Now that my red sampler is finished, I really worked really hard on getting that one done and my sunflower one done over the past couple of weeks. So I really focused on those and kind of let Sampler Spree go for a couple of weeks, but I'm going to catch up. And so I have my aqua blocks. I'll just show them to you really quickly. Lots of blur, lots of glare. But we've got some aqua. This is one of my favorites. I really like that block. This one, I can't remember if it was Susan or Moda posted a different setting, just a whole quilt made of this block, which I really liked that. I may have to do that. This quilt is going to be made exclusively from my stash. I said that the red sampler quilt was going to be from my stash, and honestly, it mostly was. There were just a few little things that I added along the way. But this one, just stash. Not going to, see, maybe if we come back here, oh, that looks like it's better. There's the green ones. And yellow. I closed the blinds so that we wouldn't have any glare, but it looks like there's still... This is a new camera that I'm working with and a new microphone, so I'm kind of getting used to them, and they're not quite the same as my old one, obviously. There we go. This one is made, this yellow here, right here, that's from Fig Tree. There's some cider. That's just some stuff from my stash. There's some more Fig Tree. I love that block. More stuff from my stash. Lots of stash, and more Fig Tree. And there's, this one is Minnick & Simpson. So, Sampler Spree. Speaking of Minnick & Simpson, I am going to finish one that I started, a block of the month that I started last year, and that is Derby House. You can see how beautiful that quilt is. So many pieces. This, I'm not going to show all this because I know I don't want to bore you to death, but here are all the 6 and 8 inch blocks. And possibly, you know what, I left the 10 inch, but these are the 6 and the 8 inch blocks. There are some more 10 inch blocks and maybe some 15 inch blocks that I left, but those, what I wanted to show you, and this is because this is not something I do. It's not something that if the topic comes up, I'll tell you I don't like to do it. And while I'm doing it, I'm not really super wild about it, but when it's finished, I really like it, and that is applique. Some of the smaller blocks, there are actually little applique blocks in this, so, and there are multiples of these, but the big applique blocks for this quilt are really big. And I chose to do most of them actually with a different pattern than what is called for in the pattern itself, a different applique design than was in the pattern itself. Mostly because I knew I wouldn't be doing this again. And there were some that by Lori Simpson that I really, really liked, but I knew I probably wouldn't do them any other time, and this seemed like a good place to get these in. So this is the largest block in the quilt. This one is not in the pattern. This is a separate, actually I found this one at All People Quilt, our APQ website from American Patchwork and Quilting. This was a free download. I changed it up a little bit, but I think I added a few of the flowers, and I think because of the position of the flag of this block in the quilt, I switched the flag and made it go the opposite direction. But I'm really happy with this block. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I'm very happy with that block. And this one, let's see, there we go. All of the fabrics in this quilt are Minikin Simpson. Most were Mackinac Island, I believe. This one is the only block that I made that was exactly like the pattern. Even the house block I changed up a little bit, but this one was just like the pattern. And then finally, this one was another pattern of Lori Simpson's, and it was bigger, so I really had to do some adjustments to make it fit on this this size background, which will fit into the quilt. So there we go. But I was really happy with this. Oh, these little circles, oh my word, they take so long to get them all in, in place, and no wrinkles and all. I like the way applique looks. And Colleen from Stitching with the Sisterlies, if you're watching, I'm really happy with all of those blocks. My thing is, I can do pieced blocks and get a lot of them done in a short amount of time. Applique, every one of those applique blocks took me an entire afternoon. I'm not fast at it, and so it takes forever. For another example, I'm doing the Sew in Love quilt by Edita Sitar. I'll show you that at some point in a future video. But I am stuck on the applique blocks because they take me so long. I can't make myself dislike. I can get 12, 15 piece blocks done, or I can get one applique block done this afternoon. So what am I going to do? 99 times out of 100, I'm going to choose the multiple piece blocks instead of the one applique block. Maybe if I did it more often, I would get a little bit faster at it, but probably not. Because I do it so slowly. I do, and I'll show you, I do applique by machine. I do not applique by hand. Sorry, if I'm going to do something by hand, it's going to be cross stitch. And I don't know if you can tell, if you can see, but I use a blanket stitch in when I'm doing the machine applique, and I'm not sure that that's going to be super clear. Maybe there. But that is a machine blanket stitch. Yeah, I am not going to do hand applique. Oh my goodness, no, not happening. Okay, so one other quilt that I'm working on is my Leaders and Enders quilt. And I got this idea from Kimberly at Fat Quarter Shop a couple of years ago. She started making a scrap quilt out of all of the fabrics that she used during the year. And so she started making pinwheel blocks, 1-inch finished half square triangles to make a 2-inch finished 2-inch finished pinwheel block. And so I started doing that. I'm still working on it. I don't sew with enough different fabrics and enough quilts because of the limited time that I have to work on things, where I can do an entire thing in 1 year. So I'm just, I started with Kimberly way back in, like I said, I think it was 2019 that she started this. And she finished her quilt up by the end of 2019. But I have enough pinwheels now that I'm starting to put blocks together. I don't have enough for an entire quilt. But I am using triangles on a roll to piece the half square triangles. I think they're the best. But I've still got a lot in my little bucket where I put all of the finished pinwheels as I go. Like I said, I use it for leaders and enders. But I kind of got, I hate to say bored with doing just the pinwheels, but I kind of got curious as to how things were adding up. So I just started putting my little pinwheel blocks together. And so far, I have 6 blocks. And there are 16 pinwheels in each block. So, and like I said, I've got lots more pinwheels ready to be put into a block, but I don't have near enough as of yet. But that is an ongoing project. Something else I kind of wanted to share with you are a couple of my favorite quilting notions. You can quilt without them, absolutely, but I love the difference that they make for me, so I thought I would share that with you. The first one is one I just mentioned, and that is triangles on a roll. See if I can get that where it's not blurry and not too glared. I just use painter's tape to keep the roll together when I'm not using it. I almost exclusively, if I'm making half square triangles, I use triangles on a roll. And I probably use 1-inch and 2-inch finished more than anything else. I've used, I don't know how many hundred off of this roll, and I actually have 2 more rolls because I don't want to be without them. And I might run out. And what if they decide not to make them anymore, and then what would I do? It's dumb, but that's my thought process. That's why I have backups. But I think triangles on a roll are the best. So there's one of my favorite notions. The other one, those I've been using for several years. The other notion that I want to show you is one that I just got from Fat Quarter Shop a couple of weeks ago. And it is the bomb, ladies and gentlemen. It is the bomb. This is a 9-inch quilter's clapper. I use it to almost, so many of my blocks, you can tell, lots and lots of 6-inch blocks, 8-inch blocks. I have 2 other clappers that are the long skinny ones that I can just put on a seam. I can put a whole block under this thing, a whole block. Anything 9 inches and under. Oh my word. Does it make a difference? Yes, it does. It absolutely makes a difference in getting your quilt block to lie flat. Oh. Could you quilt without it? Yes. Will I want to quilt without it from now on? No. This, I can't remember exactly how much it was. It was like $26 or $27 at Fat Quarter Shop. It was worth every penny. Every penny. Get you one. If you're a quilter who makes mostly those smaller blocks, you will thank me. And the last time I checked, it was actually out of stock. So if it's back in stock, get it. If it isn't, get on the wait list. You will be glad that you have that thing. Can't even tell you how much I love it. Okay, last transition, I want to show you a couple of new things that have come my way in the last couple of weeks. Okay, Quilty haul. One of the books that I've purchased most recently, actually about the same time that I got Susan Aki's Sampler Spree book, was this book. There we go, American Gathering by Lisa Bonjean, and she is doing a quilt-along, making her flag quilt with all the different blocks that she changed up for the field on her YouTube channel. I plan on doing that at some point, but the first quilt that I'm going to make out of this book is actually the one called American Zigzag. I just think it looks like, reading the instructions, I think it'll be fairly simple and fairly fast to put together. I probably have more patriotic quilts than any other, which is kind of weird, you know, because the last thing that you want to use, you know, as far as normal quilt use in July in Texas is quilt. You don't need it probably on your bed unless you've got your AC down really low. And you know, you use it for picnics and stuff, but I love patriotic stuff. I love patriotic cross stitch. If you follow my floss tube, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I love patriotic stuff. And I probably have more patriotic quilts. The only one that might be close is Christmas, but I love patriotic quilts. And so this one is going to be finished in time for 4th of July 2022. And I picked up a couple of honey buns, American Gathering honey buns from Ollie and Evie, I believe. They're in Nevada, no, not Nevada, Idaho, I believe, on Etsy, Ollie and Evie, and they are so great to buy from. Ship super, super fast. I've bought several things from them, and I've always had a good experience. So I got a couple of honey buns for that, and I got a couple of, where's the other one? Oh, no, I got one charm pack, and these are what is going to be used for that quilt. And this is, like I said, Lisa Bonjean's American Gathering fabric. Awesome. And I got the red, white, and blue stripe for the binding for this quilt, and you have to have a low volume for the outside portion of the zigzag, and I got this one from the same line. So this will be happening fairly soon. I starch all of my fabric before I quilt, except, I'm going to be honest, I don't usually starch the backing. I know I probably should, but I don't, because it takes a long time. And by the time I get to the back, I'm ready to be done and ready to move on. So don't do as I do. Starch your back if you're going to starch the front. That will be done soon, but because I have to starch, it takes a while to starch 2 honey buns, and then they have to dry, and then they have to be ironed. So I have to plan out when that's going to happen. The other thing that I'm so excited about starting, oh my goodness, Urban Chicks, their Santa that they did several years ago, was it Swell Christmas? I think the first one was Swell Christmas, the Santa. Yeah, that was awesome. I did that Santa quilt with the great, you know, the great big applique Santa. Did him. He's adorable. Now they have a Halloween version of the same kind of quilt, and that is kitty corn, and the line is called Kitty Corn. And I think I am not a cat person. I'm a dog person. All right. But look how cute that kitty is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I want to make this in time for Halloween. I don't know. I use several different quilters. Sterling Lebowski at Sterling Quilt Company does a lot of my quilting for me. She is fabulous if you haven't used her. I also have a local quilter. My local quilt shop here also does quilting. They're quite a bit more expensive, but they can get things in and out to me pretty fast. And so I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. The Santa I had custom quilted, and I love how it turned out. I don't know that I want to do that on this one. I need to see it finished first. But this is a quilt kit from Moda. And this one I ordered from Cindy at Handmade is Heart Made. Again, if you've never ordered from Cindy, you will have a great experience with her. She has an Etsy shop. She's on Instagram. And she always is just so great to work with. But I ordered this from her. So this little kitty is going to be made hopefully before October 31st of this year. In addition to the kit, I also got 2 charm packs. I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've seen it. I've seen the panel that with the cat and the pumpkin. I've seen that by a couple of people on Instagram that didn't use it as an applique on the pieced top. They just did the panel separately, and I think Kimberly at that quarter shop did the same thing. She just did the panel. I might do that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait until I get that top put together to find out. Do I want it? Because you have to cut out behind the panel, the applique kitty and the pumpkin, or you're gonna have to put a heavy interfacing or something behind it so that the pieced part does not show through on the kitty's white face or in the little white mouth of the pumpkin. You can see that what's behind it would show through. So I don't know. I'm going to have to get the top pieced first and then figure it out. What I may do is leave the pieced quilt just as it is. I've got a backing for it. And then use the panel with the kitty and piece a back using the charm packs and make just plain patchwork with, I've got a Bella Solid that matches, and here's the black plaid from the same line. I did that with one of Lella Boutique's panels that she had a couple of years ago. Can't remember the name of the line, but the panel is mostly black with great big red poinsettias, and it says "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." That line, I pieced a back using white and a plain white 5-inch square and the charm squares, just to have a simple patchwork back on the one-piece panel for the front. So I may do the same thing with this one and just put the kitty panel on the front and a simple patchwork on the back using the charm squares in the yellow. I don't know yet, but I've got both, so when I decide. But that's it. that's what I have to share with you. I would love if you commented, if you have any questions, if you've got some suggestions, if you saw something you like, anything like that. I did have on my last floss tube, I had someone ask if I quilted my own quilts or if I had someone do that for me. And like I said a little while ago, sometimes I do my own quilting on my machine. Honestly, I don't like doing it too much, especially on a big quilt, because it takes so long and I could be piecing something else. It's kind of like applique versus piecing. Quilting versus piecing. Piecing is probably going to win out. But when I have a small wall hanging like my sunflowers, I want to get that done quickly. And if I had somebody quilt that for me, I would have to wait at least a week, maybe longer, and usually longer for that to come back to me. And I wanted to get that piece and get it up on my wall. So if it's small, like a wall hanging or a pillow cover, then I'll probably do it myself. If I still had access to that long arm or any long arm, I wouldn't mind doing that myself. I really like doing that. But because I have to do it on my home machine, I saw on a Viking a 965Q. It's a great machine. I love my Viking. I've always sewn on a Viking. My mom always sewed on a Viking. I think it's probably the best machine I've ever had. But it's still, if I'm going to have to roll up a quilt, even that wall hanging, I had to get the quilt, the binding, the round binding clips, and still trying to turn that and get it in under the arm and stuff. It took the entire afternoon to quilt that. So I'd rather spend my time piecing. So on bigger things, I'm going to send that out. And like I said, Sterling is fabulous. If you get her penny special, she has a penny special every month. It's incredibly reasonable, but you may have somebody locally who does that too. And people who do that for other people, they know what they're doing, and they do a great job. So the answer to the question, and I'm so sorry, I should have looked to find out who that was, but the answer to the question is I usually have someone else do it, unless it's small and I can get it done fairly quickly. So I'd rather pay someone else to do it and have my time to piece, because I'd rather piece. So I'm also terrible at binding. I can do it and it looks fine when I'm done, but I don't like to bind. That I've got to decide how I'm going to bind my sunflower wall hanging, and I need to get it done because all my other sunflower decor and my honeybees are all up, and I need that up, so I need to get that done. But I don't know, can you see? I've actually got a quilt on the wall right there, and if you look really, really closely, it's not bound. It's hanging and it isn't bound. I need to bind it. Oh, that's one of those quilts that is just a panel on the front and a plain back. It's not like I spent tons of time piecing it, but it's one of the Riley Blake, I believe it's Riley Blake, the national parks. It's got all 62 national parks, pictures of those. I absolutely love that panel. And my daughter is big into national parks, and she's staying with me this summer. And when she was gone for a couple of days, and I switched all the decor out from patriotic to sunflowers while she was gone, and I wanted that one up when she got back because she had never seen it, and I was running out of time, and so I had to put it up before it was bound. Now I need to take it back and take it down like a big girl, put my big girl pants on, and bind that thing. Won't take me very long, but I have been known to hang a quilt that's not bound. I hope I'm not the only one, but if I am, I'm going to own it because I do it. So anyway, thanks so much. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, ask questions, make suggestions. I love this online quilting and stitching community. It is amazing. It is supportive. It is kind. And it's a group that I enjoy being a part of. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.